Hello all! In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the fisherman's rib in 2 colors. Last month I posted a video on how to do the fisherman's rib in 1 color, and I had demonstrated the pattern and then shown you this scarf here that I knit up. And then since then I just wanted to share with you, I knit up another scarf with that same 1 color fisherman's rib, but I used a stripy yarn for this one, so got this really nice cool effect of these scarves, of these stripes that range from white all the way to black, varying through the shades of gray. So this is my 5 shades of gray scarf, but it's still just the 1 color fisherman's rib. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 2 color fisherman's rib. Now I don't have a completed project for that. I just have this little swatch knit up, and I think I have enough yarn on this one. I could maybe make a small scarflet or a cowl if I kept going. So who knows, maybe I'll do that, or maybe I'll get new yarn and knit up something else. But I just wanted to show you the pattern, and you could follow the same pattern as the 1 color fisherman scarf and just use 2 colors. You know, I follow the same pattern for the number of stitches and the rest of the directions, but the actual pattern you want to follow the 2 color one that I've included in the description field below. I have also included a link to the 1 color fisherman's rib scarf. If you haven't tried fisherman's rib at all, want to try the 1 color one, because it is a little simpler than the 2 color one, but the 2 color one isn't that bad at all. As you can see, it provides a fabric that is reversible, and it does give an edge, and I tried a few different options for the edge here, trying to slip the stitches versus just doing a knit on either side, and at the end I think I settled for the knit. You can certainly try to slip the stitch or try different things, but I really like kind of this snubby edging of the knit edges, so I have included that in my pattern. And again, this is just a traditional pattern. This is certainly not my own design or anything like that, but it's just a wonderful stitch, and it's, as I call it, the cousin of brioche, because it gives a very brioche look to the fabric without the complexity of a brioche stitch. And it's very stretchy, as you can see, and so you can get away with casting just a few stitches if you're knitting a vest or hat or something like that, or just even for a scarf. There's quite a bit of stretch to the fabric. So let's get started. Now, a couple things that are different with the 2 color versus the 1 color. You do need double pointed needles for the 2 color fisherman's rib. So in that sense, it is similar to brioche, where you do need double pointed needles. And what you want to do right off the start is your 2 colors designate one as a main color and one as an alternate color, or color A, color B, whichever one. So in this case, I'm going to use this variegated yarn as my main color, and then this darker yarn as my alternate color or contrasting color. Color A, the pink, light pink one, the color B, the maroon one. Okay, so you do need an odd number of stitches, which I've already cast on using my current most favorite cast on technique, which is the German twisted cast on that I just posted a video on. But you don't have to use that. You can use any type of cast on that you like. I like the German twisted or the long tail cast on for these scarves because they have that extra stretch, and since the pattern itself is going to give you that stretch, it helps to have a little bit of a stretchy cast on. Okay, so the pattern is repeated over 4 rows, and you do have to do a setup row. So the setup row is just all knit. So I'm just going to go ahead and knit these 15 stitches that I've cast on. And you want to make sure you're not splitting your yarn as I'm doing here. And this first row, you might want to knit a little bit looser. If you are somebody who generally tends to knit a little bit on the tighter side, just hold the yarn a little bit looser for this first row. Okay. So you've cast on with color A, or the main color, and you also do the first row of knit with that main color. Okay. Now we're gonna start the 4 rows. The first row, I'm gonna use the contrasting color or color B, leave a little bit of a tail, 4 to 6 inches. And the very first stitch in every row is always gonna be a knit. So I'm just gonna insert this here. Here's my yarn. I'm just making a loop, not making a knot, inserting it and knitting with it. Now you'll notice that it remains a little bit loose. You can tug on it like this, and after you've knit a couple stitches you can come back here and tie a knot, and we'll do that in just a second. Okay, so if you follow the pattern for row 1, the first stitch is knit 1. The second stitch you're going to purl, but you're going to purl it in the stitch below. So it says P1 below. So bring the yarn forward, insert into that hole that you see in the stitch below. So you're not inserting it into the stitch, but into the hole below, and purl like that, and then drop the stitch. And we'll see that a few more times throughout the row. Okay, so that was a purl 1 below. The next stitch is a knit 1. So you take the yarn back and knit 1. And now you're just going to keep doing these 2 stitches all the way through. So purl 1 below. So again, you're inserting it into that hole below the stitch, and then knit 1. And this is why you need that setup row, to have that stitch so that you can purl into that stitch below. And so you will end up with a purl 1 below and a knit 1. Now at this point you do not want to turn your work, and this is why you need double pointed needles, because you're going to keep the work facing the same way. You're going to slide your stitches to the end, the other end, and you're going to start knitting with your main color or color A. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to just tie a loose knot right here with, oops, sorry, I meant on this end, with this yarn, this darker yarn that I joined. I'm just going to tie a loose knot here. Okay, just for now. We can take that out later. All right, so now with the main color or color A, we're going to do row 2. So remember, the first stitch is always a knit. The next stitch is just a regular purl, and then the stitch after that is a knit 1 below. So now again, you're not knitting it into the stitch, but you're knitting it into the hole below. And if you've already looked at or know how to do the fisherman's rib in 1 color, then you know how to do this knit 1 below stitch already. And that's it for this row. You're going to keep doing purl 1, knit 1 below, purl 1, knit 1 below. And we'll keep doing this till we get to the last 2 stitches, I believe. Okay, and then these last 2 stitches you're going to purl 1, and then the last stitch you're just going to knit a regular knit. Okay, so that was row 2. Now you'll see what's happened. We did the first row after the setup row. The setup row is only once, but then we did the first row with this color B, the darker color, and then we did the first row or second row with the color A or the main color, and now both our colors have ended up on this end. That's when you turn your work. So row 1, don't turn. Row 2, after you're done, you turn your work. Okay, now row 3, you're going to start with that color B or the darker color. Now one thing to try and get a neat edge is that when you have both your colors sitting like this, you always want to have gather your color that you're going to be using from in the same way, row after row. So you can choose to either go above or choose to go below, and I think going below gives that kind of nice little pretty edge, and so just pick the yarn from below. Okay, so you have your 2 yarns here, pick it from below. Now the first stitch is just a knit, and now for row 3 the pattern says knit 1 below, purl 1. So you're going to knit 1 below, insert it into that hole below the stitch and knit 1 and purl 1. Knit 1 below, K1, which is also K1B, abbreviated K1B, or purl 1. And we're going to keep doing this to the end. Or rather, to the last 2 stitches. I misspoke. Okay, once you're at the last 2 stitches, you're going to do a knit 1 below, okay? And then you're going to just do a knit 1. So the first stitch and the last stitch of every row is just a knit. Now again, we're not going to turn the work at the end of row 3. We've brought over our alternate color. We're going to push the stitches to this end, and now we're going to do row 4, which is the last row of the pattern, and that is with your main color. So the first stitch is just a knit. Now the next stitch, it's a knit 1 and then a purl 1 below. So knit 1, bring the yarn in the front, and purl 1 into the stitch below. That's it. So knit 1, purl 1 below. And you're going to keep doing that till you get to the last 2 stitches. So the last 2 stitches, you're going to do a purl 1 below, which I just did, and then a knit 1. Okay, and again, oh, I stand corrected. I have one more stitch here, and it's a little bit loose, so I didn't realize it. Okay, so here's my last 2 stitches. Sorry about that. All right, let's regroup. We did a knit 1, and then we did a knit 1, purl 1 below, knit 1, purl 1 below, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 below, knit 1, purl 1 below, knit 1, purl 1 below, till you get to the last 2 stitches. Then you do a knit 1 and a knit 2. So essentially you knit the last 2 stitches, just regular knit. And I'm going to pull this yarn a little bit tighter so my stitches aren't loose. All right, now we've completed all 4 rows, and you'll notice that my yarn is, both my yarns are on the same side, which is my indication to turn. So this is how you can tell when to turn. Of course, you can always have the pattern printed and right next to you, but this is how you can also just tell when it's time to turn. When both your yarns are on the same end, then it's time to turn. And again, you're going to do, each row is with the other color. So right now, if I'm not sure, oh, which row did I just do, just look at the stitches on the needle itself. It's in my color A or my lighter color, so I just knit with the lighter color, which means my next row is with this darker color. And again, you want to take the darker color from the bottom and bring it in the front like that and knit. Okay, that way you're each time you're bringing it up the same way, and so you're gonna get a nice edge on either side. And I know it doesn't look like much right now, but as you keep doing these 4 rows, it's gonna start looking very pretty, and you're gonna start getting that nice little edge on either side. And that's it. Just keep doing those 4 rows to get your 2-color rib. Now, I did the sample both in solid colors, but I think it'll give a very nice effect if you perhaps did one in a solid color and then one in a variegated color. And you could also keep one color as the same color and then keep switching your second color and using different skeins if you wanted like a multi-color scarf or cowl or whatever you choose to do with this pattern. So I think there's lots of different options there, and as you can see, it's really not that different. In one color Fisherman's Rib, you have a knit one below and that's it, whereas in this one you do have a knit one below and a purl one below, and the order goes in row 1 it's purl one below, in row 2 and 3 it's a knit one below, and then in row 4 again it's a purl one below. So that's another way to kind of remember this. Now one point I will make is that when you first get started, maybe take a printout of the pattern or write down the pattern and have it sitting next to you until you pretty much get this memorized. But then also, given that this is a little bit of a finicky pattern, lifelines, adding proactive lifelines is a great idea when you're working in Fisherman's Rib. An awesome idea when you're working in brioche as well. I think really important, just because if you make a mistake and you have to take out stitches, it's a little bit tricky because you've been knitting in that stitch below. I mean, you could do it, but it's just a little more difficult. So it helps to just add a proactive lifeline after you've knit a certain amount, maybe 4 or 6 inches. You haven't made a mistake, looks great. Throw in a proactive lifeline, and then later you can just take them out. If you don't have to unravel your work, you can just take them out. That's just extra insurance. So I hope you give this one a try. Again, the pattern is provided in the description field below, as is the link to the one color Fisherman's Rib pattern. And if you complete any projects with this, I would love to hear about it, so please leave me comments. As always, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, Knittycat's Knits, if you haven't already, to stay up to date of all my upcoming videos and my previous videos. Happy knitting!